All right, so to reiterate, Shalonte, I'm going to ask you to reiterate what we're going to do when we first get a listing.
So once you first get a listing, you definitely want to send out something to the neighbors who just listed. You want to market it on your social media, engage people. You want to start, after you do that, you definitely want to do a open house, schedule an open house, send out your invitations, just like Jasmine said, invite people over. You want as much exposure as possible to your listing. So even if it's not something they particularly may like, they may have questions about other properties in the area. And that right there is your leads. Your leads are going to start pouring in just from one listing.
Absolutely. So the topic again for today is multiplying your listings. So you're going to be marketing your own listings so as to get more listings. All right. So if you follow these things that we're talking about, you will absolutely get a minimum of 1 to 2 more listings for every listing that you have in addition to buyers. So in essence, what that means is you can jumpstart your real estate business or take it to the next level just by marketing your listing effectively. So we talked about doing your just listed postcard form, social media form, sending it out on Constant Contact, sending it out on a minimum of your Facebook, your Instagram, as well as your LinkedIn social media pages. Then scheduling your open house and doing the same thing with that. Put in that open house, you're going to send out the invitation to at least 200 neighbors. You're going to door knock those neighbors. You're going to put it on all your social media feeds also, and you're going to send it out to your Constant Contact campaign for your open house. Now, we're going to add another element to that because you want to door knock your neighbors and personally invite them to a preview before the open house. And we talked about this before, where you make the neighbors feel special. So you're going to host, you're going to have little hors d'oeuvres and things that are just for the neighbors that are before the open house, because guess what? They're also homeowners. And if you host them and you establish a really good rapport with those neighbors and you let them know, hey, the open house today is from noon until 2, but from 11 until 12, this is going to be a private, invitation only for the neighbors. You guys can come out and do a private tour of the property and ask any questions that you have. Now you've just given yourself a platform in the eyes of all of the neighbors in the community, and you've made them feel special. So in doing that, you provide all of your information to the neighbors, and now who do you think is going to be the face for a community resource when it comes to real estate?
Right, they'll look for
you. You are.
So
yes, because
how are we doing this in COVID-19?
So we'll talk about that, and that's a great question. We're going to talk about the provisions that we have for COVID-19 a little bit towards the end, because everything we're talking about now, we're talking about doing pretty much in any market, but there are going to be some considerations that are very much for COVID-19, okay?
Okay.
So with your neighbors, the purpose is going to be for them. They are going to want to come and see the house because they want to know how theirs compare, but you want to make sure that they are aware that you're there for any of their real estate related questions as it pertains to the market and their home and all of those things. And you want to be sure to start conversation with them that you hope that you have to follow up on. You know what I mean? So what I mean by that is there are going to be some things that you could answer quickly, and that's fine, but the hope would be for you to kind of lead them into a further conversation so that you have more extensive dialogue and they have a reason to follow up with you, you have a reason to follow up with them, and you start providing them with those type of services that will lead them to say, oh, wow, Dee was very informative. She's given me this information. She hosted us, and now you have a community advocate, okay? So that's the very first open house. And you want to do the second open house the very same way. Host your neighbors and then the rest of the public. Make sense?
Yep.
All right. So another meeting.
Yes, hold on, Miss Jasmine, I have a quick question.
Sure.
I have a quick question. So when I went out to like the new builds and stuff like that, they said that they allow agents to do open houses even if you don't have like one of their houses listed.
Yes.
Is that something that we're still able to do with COVID going on, or?
That is something that we're still able to do, and I'm excited to hear that you did that. I've been pushing for people to do open houses on builders' homes for so long, and I'm really excited that you actually took the opportunity to do so. I'll just talk a little bit about what Rachel is doing. So when you have your own listing, that's excellent. If you don't have your own listing, you always have listings at your disposal, because as long as there's a model home, you have the opportunity to go out and host an open house. And your sales representatives in those model homes, they're very happy for you to bring in buyers because the builder has already established a co-brokerage relationship. So what does that mean? That means that just like you market for an open house on your own listing, you can also market for an open house at the model home or at the builder's listing. It's simply done with your face. You reach out to the builder's representative and you ask them if there's a date that they prefer that you can host, you know, an open house there. And most of the time they don't mind. They likely would prefer to do it when their hours aren't busiest. So you ask them what their peak times are and do it on an off time, and they're very happy. And sometimes they'll even provide you with refreshments. So they're very happy to do so. And with COVID, the change is that we've been having to do so by appointment. So what does that look like? That means if you have an open house at a builder scheduled, say by chance you do 12 to 3, then what you'll do is, depending on, you know, which county it's in and what state and what their provisions are, whether they're phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3, they might say no more than 10 people at a time, but the builder might say by appointment only. And what that means is, for that first maybe 15 minutes or that first 30 minutes, you might have one buyer or one family. Then the next 30 minutes, you have another family. Then the next 30 minutes, you have another family, and so forth and so on until that time is extended. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yes.
So the builders themselves, perfect. The builders themselves, they're the ones that are going to establish what their guidelines are, and some of them are different. So just touch base with them, okay?
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to continue with exactly that. So marketing your own listings and or builder's listing. There's some tools that we have access to that we used to use, but they're still extremely effective that I want to just kind of remind us of when it comes to invitations and it comes to making things seem festive. We use Constant Contact, and it's excellent, and we need to do the same thing. However, if we add Evite to our open house platform, then you can send it out in Constant Contact as well as Evite. And when you send out those type of invitations to people, it feels festive. It makes them feel excited, like they've been really invited to something that they want to attend. Has anybody used Evite before?
Yes, I've used it.
Yes, I use it for like little parties and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, great. So you can do the exact same thing with your open houses, because the goal is going to be to get as many people to come as possible. And what you can do is, for your neighbors in those communities that you host the private session for before the open house, you can send them a special Evite. You see what I mean? So that they know, hey, this is just for the neighbors, this is for you guys. You come on out and get this information that's specially tailored to your community. Okay? So those are beginning stages of marketing your own listing. Now, that being said, we're going to move down to the next phase. Each community, depending on where it is, whether it be your single family homes that are in your $400,000 price range, $500,000 price range, there's always going to be a feeder community for that, okay? What do I mean by that? I mean that if you're farming an area that has single family homes between the $400,000 and $500,000 price range, what is your feeder community? You want to locate those subdivisions, okay? Locate your subdivisions that have homes that are in your $300,000 price range. So whether they're your high-end townhomes or some smaller single-family communities that are within close proximity to where your listing is, because those are the people that are going to be looking to move up should they need more space. Does that make sense to you guys? So then when you consider door knocking to find potential buyers for your listing, that's where you're going to go and door knock for buyers. Okay? Let's be clear. When we're door knocking within the vicinity or within the subdivision that our listing is in, you're door knocking for more listings. When you go to those feeder communities, you can be door knocking for more listings, but you can also very well sell your own listing in that community because those are going to be move-up buyers. Okay? So when you want to focus your information, we talked about sending out mailers to those communities that may say something to the effect of, you know, for $2,500 a month, you could own this. And you send out a picture of your listing. And you and I both know if they're renters in that community, then they're likely already paying what a mortgage would be anyway. So we want to target them from various angles, okay? So it's going to sound like it's several different steps in the process, and that's great because the goal is to multiply your listings and to get you guys buyers. And when we consider our business from this way, you can see very easily how you can grow your business and cause your business to boom just out of that one listing. And if you don't have a listing, you can do so with your builders. And if you don't, you can do so either way with the marketing material and information that we're talking about. All you have to do is commit to it and it will work. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then next, once you get a contract on that home, you need to post that. You need to brand it. You need to put under contract. You need to do a blast out to your social media. Everybody should know, hey, Aurelia just got a contract on that listing. You need to let the neighbors know. And here's another thing that I wanted to share with you guys. The neighbors that are going to come to that open house, you want to put them on a special email list because everything that happens with that property, all of the updates and everything, your contract, your settlement, the market value, you want to be able to send that over to them because that's information that is of value to them. Okay?
Now, even if you're on your,
go ahead.
I was going to say, even if you're on the buyer side and you get under contract, you can still send something out saying under contract. You know what I mean? It still would show up, and that's a great way, even if you're the buyer side, take advantage of it.
Excellent point.
Oh,
Very much so.
and how would you do that?
So,
What?
so you do the same thing.
Okay.
Shalante, I'm going to let you answer it since you introduced it.
I was chilling. But no, if you're on the buyer side and you get it under contract, guess what? It's not just a celebration for you and your client. You want to let people know, hey, you know, although it's not your listing, hey, we're getting them under contracts. People like to see agents who are able to get results. So you're showing your results right there.
Okay. Okay. That's good.
Okay, so just like we said with your just listed, you need to do the same thing with your under contract. So once you go under contract, your constant contact, you should be sending out under contract to everybody that's in your sphere of influence. They should be kept abreast of what it is that you're doing and the progress you're making. The same thing too for your social media platforms under contract. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, they should see under contract. Okay? Now, I'm going to take a step back for a minute because when we were talking about just listed and we're talking about your postcards, I want to highlight something for you guys. Because a lot of the material that you get from one of your listings, you can use that in multiple ways. And what I mean by that is, say by chance you have a listing that you have 30 exceptional photos of. When you do your just listed, you can do 3 photos of it on one just listed. And say by chance, that is what's going to go out to your social media blast this week. Next week, you can do another 3 photos of that same listing, just listed, and that can go out for next week. The next week, if you choose to, you can do another 3 photos. So the point that I'm making here is in multiplying your listings, and selling your own listings, you can use a lot of the information that you have and just kind of spoon feed it to the public in a way that shows that you are being very much, you're busy and you're being productive, you're being proactive, but you can also show your listing from various angles. You don't have to show all 30 photos at one time. You can just whet their appetite. You see what I mean? If you have a great space, say by chance the front room is a great room, you can show those pictures. If the next one is the sunroom that's been beautifully decorated, you can show those. And it just looks like you're being even more productive. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, you know how we were talking about using Planoly, and we were talking about using these different social media planning apps. If you wanted to go ahead and plan out 5 posts for that one listing, you have all the pictures that you need in order to do so that it's fresh and so that it captivates people's attention and it's not the same pictures each time. Okay?
So let me ask this. On some of these social media platforms, they really don't want you to put things up for sale, but you can market.
So you absolutely can market your listings on all of the social media platforms. And we each should have Facebook business pages. We should have Instagram business pages for each one of our real estate businesses. And that's what the purpose of those are for. They are expecting that you're going to be marketing something on there, so that's totally fine.
So on LinkedIn, I don't recall seeing anybody marketing. They're just sharing information. So I wouldn't do that on LinkedIn, but I would do it on Instagram or Facebook. I do it on Facebook or YouTube, on a YouTube channel. You can.
No, you're just listed. You're under contract, and you're just sold are totally fine on LinkedIn.
Oh, okay.
They're totally fine. You can put just listed on there. You can put just sold. I haven't heard anybody from their platform say that there's anything wrong with doing just listed or just sold. You're sharing your productivity as an agent. So you're sharing with your sphere, you're sharing with your network, and I've gotten business from there before. People say, oh, wow, I'm so glad you put that out there. This person is looking for a home. You get referrals and all kinds of things from there.
Okay.
Okay? So I'm going to move next into a topic that we don't talk about as often, but when we're multiplying our listings and we're learning how to find our own buyers, there's several different partners that we can tap for that, okay? You guys, as we market listings and you work with other buyers, you're going to come across other lenders that buyers have worked with. And some of them may have been good or may not have been good, but one of the things that they have in common is buyers, okay? So if you're looking to sell your own listing, one of the things that you can do is create an email list. So for all of those lenders that either you have worked with before or buyers who submitted offers on your listings have worked with, have a list of those. And then when you get a new listing, send it out to those lenders. Because the thing they all have in common, again, they have buyers. All right? Any questions about that? All right, perfect. So then you should be scheduling another open house. I would say a minimum of 2 open houses on each listing, a minimum. If you can do 4, that's great. Because at the end of the day, your open houses, they're going to get you more business and they're going to get more exposure for your listing. So it's a win-win for both you and the sellers. So you have that conversation with your sellers in advance and you let them know what the expectation is. And in our listing presentation, it talks about the importance of having a well-planned open house, okay? So we've talked about before having your open houses sponsored. And what does that mean? That means when you schedule your open house, say by chance you say, okay, my listing is going to come on the market within the next 2 weeks, reach out to the title company that you're working with, reach out to a lender. If you're working with Cooper, great. If you have another lender, reach out to them. reach out to another agent or reach out to your home warranty person. Reach out to someone and see if you can get a partner to come with you on your open house so that you guys can provide even more information to your buyer, even more services to your buyer. Have your hors d'oeuvres, have it well planned, okay? I'll reshare the information for preparing for the open house if need be. It's already in BrokerMint, but please be sure to look through those steps, because when you do that, it's going to help you to have a very well planned open house. And when you do it correctly, you will get business and you will get leads from it. There are some agents who made their business just on doing open houses alone, who gotten multiple listings, multiple buyers, and jump-started or took their business to another level just by doing open houses alone. Okay? So everything that we're talking about, it will work in isolation, but it works very well like a well-oiled machine when you do these things in tandem. You will get a whole lot of listing and a whole lot of buyer business. You just want to be diligent and keep doing it until you start seeing your results from it. Okay? I'm going to pause there for questions.
So you were saying lender, title company, home warranty person. Would you also recommend inspector or appraiser or anything like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad you said that. So anybody who has a hand in the home buying process, or anybody that the buyer would need to come in contact with at some point, they're going to be a valuable resource to the buyer. So you can partner with one of them, and that kind of takes us back to what we were talking about the builders, the question that Rachel had asked earlier. When you go with a builder and you do your open house there, if you give them notice, most of the time they're already going to provide the refreshments that you need. So you just find out, if you do it with a builder, you want to go in advance and you want to take a look at what their models are. You want to take a look at the price point. You're going to get an informational sheet from them so that you're familiar with each one of the models they have, the elevations, the price point, and the options that are going to come included with the home, okay? And we'll schedule another one. I actually have one on the book for July for Porterhouse, so that one of our agents with one of our communities will share a lot of insight so that you guys are comfortable with working with builders agents. But you can partner with anybody that's in the home buying process in order to have a successful open house, even one of your colleagues. And I do recommend that you guys partner to do your open houses. Any questions?
How does
I
it
just-
work with the builders?
Say that one more time, Relia.
I think there was someone else. I was going to ask a question, but
Go ahead,
I don't know.
Aurelia. It was D. Go ahead, Aurelia.
No, you can go ahead with your question, Dee. I had a simple question after you.
Okay, so I was going to ask, how does it work with the builders when you have, they have not agents, but they have, seller, they have representatives there. So how do you work with them?
Okay. So the builders have sales associates,
Right,
but they're not agents. So
right.
they're employees that work for the builder. They don't have agency or representation the way that we do and the way that buyers do. Now, when you're working with a builder to host an open house there, it would be the sales representative who would be there to host you and to serve you guys. So they're totally happy as long as you let them know in advance and give them the consideration of finding out which days and times they prefer for you to host it. Usually when we do that, they'll say, hey, peak hours or peak days are these times. As long as it's, here or there, that's totally fine. They're happy to work with you. And we usually will even offer to provide refreshments for you.
So we're working with the buyers when we work with them.
So you can, yes.
Okay, that's what I was getting confused about. It should be obvious, but I was like, how does
It's
that
okay.
work? Okay.
No worries. No
Alright.
worries, because from your open house, you will get a lot of buyer leads. You'll get buyer leads, and so if it's your listing, you're gonna get listing leads. If you're doing it with a builder, then you're gonna get a lot of buyer leads.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yes, okay.
All right. So your move up community, what are your guys' thoughts about that when you consider your farm area? Are you guys familiar with the move up communities in your farm area
Yeah. It's usually an apartment
or your
complex.
feeder communities?
Aurelia, was it Aurelia, did you have a question?
The only the question I had was about the open house and how often, I mean, you said we should do two, four
A
would be
minimum.
great. But yeah, two at a minimum. But how far apart? Weekly, every month, or what? How far apart should we?
Definitely weekly. I would say
Weekly?
weekly, and for
Okay.
your first week, if you can host one Saturday and Sunday, that's great. Your
Oh,
second
okay.
week, if you can do Saturday and Sunday, that's great as well. What we've done successfully in the past is we've even had brokers open. When you get to the point where you're looking for another person's help, that would be a little bit further down the line with your brokers open. What you can do on your own, you just host one on a weekday, and you might say it's a happy hour or something like that. So after work, the neighbors can come. It might be from 5 to 7 or something like that. So they can
Okay.
come and, get some refreshments, hors d'oeuvres, and take a look at the property. And those are very successful too.
Okay.
As long as you plan it in advance and you make it festive and you invite people, then you'll definitely get a lot of leads from them.
Okay.
And I would say, especially in this climate that we're in this COVID climate, the inventory is lower. So buyers are absolutely looking for homes. I had a conversation with Christina. She's not on the line right now, I don't think, but I would have had her to share. She was telling me about one of her listings that she had, as soon as she put it on the market, within 3 days, she had like 50-something showings on it. And that is indicative of what we're seeing on the market. Because the inventory is lower, there are a lot more buyers in the market. So if you do a well-planned open house, you can get a whole lot of buyer leads, okay? So many of them will have agents, but they're going to be a great deal that do not have agents. Okay? So question for you guys. What do you guys think about when I say your feeder communities or your move-up communities in your farm areas? What are some of the places that you think about?
Well, for me, it's apartment complexes that are nearby. Because
Okay.
the community
else?
I've been farming is a, basically first-time home buyers community.
Okay. So then if you were farming to that apartment community, what type of material would you send them?
I would send them just listed information when it came up, and then I would send them information on how to get a loan. Who's the loan officer in the area, getting pre-approval, that kind of stuff, if I can get in. And the thing is to either talk to management or something so that you could actually get in and have some kind of an open house or some kind of a meet and greet at the apartment complex.
So those are good ideas, but I'll tell you something that's even more effective. Your postcards that we were talking about earlier, say by chance you have a listing that's over there and your listing, is 350,000 or something, you send over a postcard, and you should already know what those apartment ranges are. So if you know that the tenants there are paying $2,000 a month, you should be specifically targeting them based on the rent amount, so that you'll know what the roundabout conversion is for the price point of your listing. And in order to do that, what you would do is send out a postcard. So if you're listing, you know that the mortgage would be $2,500, you're targeting apartments in that area that are $2,500, and you're going to send them the postcard for $2,500 a month. You could own this. You know what I mean? So that's very specific. It's tailored. It's targeted, and it's letting them know, hey, I'm renting for this amount, and I could own that for $2,500. Okay? And if you're going to do a campaign, your campaign would include something from our home buyers, the booklet that we have, our home buyer consultation. You know, when you rent, you get 30 more days. If you own this, the benefits of home ownership. So just go through some of the benefits of home ownership. So you get tax deduction. So your interest, your property taxes, all write off. Can you write off your rent?
Mm-mm.
They would be getting back a very large portion of what they pay in their mortgage in taxes. You could even put something on there to that effect. If you were a homeowner, this is around about how much you would get back at tax time, or this is how much of a tax credit. You know what I mean? This is an average amount of a tax credit that you would get as a homeowner. How much of a tax credit are you getting as a renter? You know what I mean? Just there's some creative ideas that you can strategically send to those renters in those communities that really make it very real. Hey, Shalante, I like what I'm seeing. Bring it up. Let me see.
Oh, cool.
This is one of my campaigns and one of my postcards.
The true
So they
cost
get to
of
see
renting.
one-
There you go.
1 year, 3 year, 5 years, what they're paying out, what they're getting out of it, absolutely nothing.
There you go. Excellent. That's a very good one. Okay.
So, Shalante,
Another
do you
one-
mail those out to people every week or something? Like, how do you do that?
So what I do with my mailing campaigns, I make sure I make at least 4 touches. I keep the postcard relatively the same because everybody's sending out postcards. If you keep switching it up, how do they know it's you? They're going to look at my postcard and be like, here she go again. Here she go again. Now they recognize my postcards as they come in. But I target them and I send these every 3 weeks.
Got it. Okay. Wow.
And also another thing is, if you guys don't have door hangers, I know we have door hangers at a really good price. It's like 500 of them. And what I do is the same thing every 3 weeks, we pinpoint like the high end house communities and put them on the doors. And then 3 weeks later, we're back out there doing the same thing. You want to keep touching them quite a few times, but you know, it works.
Yes, I definitely need that information for the door hangers, because I went out to the community in Fort Washington, the Overlook community, and I was passing out my cards, but you know, people are very iffy right now because of COVID. So instead of, you know, being all in people's personal space, I wanted to be able to just, you know, hang my stuff on their doors. So I definitely need that information for some door hangers.
You can email your request to info@porterhouserealtypros.com and we'll take care of it.
Okay.
And that's any of your marketing material that any of you need. If you need postcards, you need door hangers, you need mailers, just send it over to us and we'll take care of it. And we'll talk about the details.
Can you text me that email address, Jasmine?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
You got it. That was great, Shalante. So one thing that I'll say with each one of the mailers, I strongly recommend that we do series, okay? What do I mean by series? I mean more than just one mailer. So if you can do a 4-part series, great. If you can do a 7-part series, great. The more they see your face, the more they come to know you as a community resource. They get to trust you. They say, okay, this person they're consistent and all of these different things. They're going to look you up, and now they're familiar with you. So whether they call you the first time you send the postcard or the second time you send the postcard, you have a whole bunch of people that are now familiar with you and your brand and you as an agent. Okay? So that takes us back to where we were. We talked about the just sold. We talked about the just listed. We talked about just listed and under contract. Now we're going to talk about just sold. So if you've been paying attention with everything that we did with just listed and under contract, what are we going to do with just sold?
Same thing.
You got it. You got it. You're just sold. You are sending out postcards to your community with your just sold. You are going to do a blast on all of your social media platforms for your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Instagram, for your just sold. You're going to send out your constant contact for your just sold. Everybody needs to know that this property just sold. All right? And the same thing that we talked about with your just listed, you're going to do, say by chance you do your just listing your just sold postcards, and those may have 3 pictures. Now, because you're doing it on social media, it's not going to cost you anything to do another 3 pictures the next week, just sold, and put the 3 additional pictures. The next week, you can do another just sold and do 3 different pictures, and so forth and so on. Does this make you look very productive as an agent?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so utilize the resources that you have. And when you do that, you're showing your clients how diligent you are, how diligent you'll work on their behalf, and you're showing them, hey, this agent is doing a very good job marketing herself, so this is how she'll market my listing. People, they really will pay attention to that. Okay, and even if you're starting out with 1 listing, for your client, perception is reality. So if that 1 listing, whether it be, if you get permission from a builder to take photographs of their listing, you have to get written permission. And if you do, you can market that on your website, or market it on your social media feeds is what I meant to say. And you do all of those photos of your listing. Now you have multiple, or in the eyes of your consumers, it looks as if that could be 30 pictures of the same house, but because she showed me 1 room at a time, and she did so over a 5-week period, that looks like Dee just sold 5 different listings. Mm-hmm. That looked like Tasha just sold 5 different listings. You know what I mean? Because you're showing different pictures, not everything all at one time. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So if you are working with a buyer and you have a just sold with them, mm-hmm. What can you use? Do you have to get permission from the listing agent to use their photos? What do you do?
So you can't use the listing agent's photos unless you have written permission. What you can do is you can take your own photos, because when you're the selling agent, you have the ability to market that property also. When you get that property under contract and when you sell that property, you have permission to market your success, not their photos, however. Does that make sense?
Okay, so that's if you're the selling agent. If you're representing the buyer,
that's the selling agent.
Oh.
Okay, so I have
yeah, they're confusing.
I have a question with that.
Sure.
So you take a buyer out to view a property. You take your own photos in that house. You can actually use those photos to market anything?
So once you are the selling agent and you're under contract, or once you have sold the property, if it is just sold by you, then you can market what you have just sold. If it's listed and it's active, then you can't do that because you're not the listing agent.
Unless you get permission from the listing agent.
Unless you get written permission from the listing agent to do so.
Correct.
Those are very good questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
And even with written permission from the listing agent, if they specifically say you can use their photos, then I still would do my own photos, only because those photos belong to 3 people. They belong to the listing broker. Well, actually more than that, the listing broker, the listing agent, the seller, and the photographer who took the photos.
Right.
So the photos belong to all of them. So if you get permission from the listing broker, then that covers you from the listing end. But I would just recommend that you take your own photos, get permission, and ask if, hey, can I take those photos? And I will say that in the climate that we're in, this is the best time. I've actually not seen another time in my career that people are more willing to allow you to take photos of their listings. This is an excellent time.
Okay.
Because of the COVID climate, you have a lot of people who want to do virtual tours. You have a lot of people that haven't necessarily started touring properties themselves as of yet. So we've gotten multiple notifications from Bright MLS, and we've gotten notifications from the board as well saying that, hey, as long as you get written permission, you can take photos and you can send photos or even do virtual tours of another person's listing. That has not been the case ever since I've been in real estate. So because things are so relaxed, I would absolutely take advantage of it. I would send over an email in advance. Hey, I have a potential buyer that's interested in the property, wanted to see if I could take a few pictures and a video for a virtual tour for this prospect. Or I wanted to do a preview for, some buyers that I'm thinking about. I wanted to see if I could take some photos and a quick video for these potential prospects. You get that in writing, and then you're clear. So I don't know how long that's going to last, but in this COVID market that we're in, they were pushing everybody to do virtual tours anyway. So that would cover us. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. Any more questions?
No, I don't have no questions. This has been very informative.
It sure has.
Great. All right, guys, if we take advantage of this information, you can multiply your listings and sell your own listings. You can do so. Now, I want to say that in order for us to do this, of course, you want to make sure that we're not doing it before we make it active for all other agents. It has to be active on the market for everybody at the same time. But when that does happen, you want to do everything that you can to multiply your listings and find a buyer. If you can do that, then you've doubled your income, maybe even tripled your income. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, sure it does.
Perfect. Everybody understand how that works?
Yep.
Excellent. There are a couple people on the line that I haven't heard anything from. So before we go, I'm going to pick on them really quickly. Tasha, I haven't heard anything from you. Let's see. Darlene, I haven't heard from you. Miss Pat, I haven't heard from you.
I've been at an appointment.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Good stuff, though. Good stuff. Yep, I'm here.
Good.
Hi,
Let's see.
Tasha. I haven't met you before, Shalante. I was sitting here with my sister. She said, there's another Tasha. She said, there's another person. She keeps looking up. So we were sitting here. I said, I think that's somebody new.
There you go.
Hi, welcome.
Hey,
I'm good.
Awesome.
All right.
You guys are the best. Any questions about anything? Does everybody know where you're going to start?
Mm-hmm. I'm excited.
So,
Okay. If you are finished, I would like Miss Pat to say something if she will.
Miss Pat, I did want to hear from Miss Pat because I know that she is doing her her Age to Perfection tomorrow, and I know that she has Anissa who's going to be a guest speaker on there. So I wanted to hear from Miss Pat really quickly. Miss Pat? Let me see. I've unmuted you, Miss Pat.
All right. Okay. Hi. Yes, Anissa's going to do a segment on downsizing.
Awesome.
Miss Pat, you have to say a little bit more than that.
I'm enticing you to come through and
Okay, so Miss Pat has a Friday program. It happens every Friday at 9:30. It's called Age to Perfection. It is on WBGR radio, and she has all of the calling information and all of the contact information, and I hope that she will send that. It's at 9:30. She has a format that is wonderful. She explains it at every program, and there's always a section on real estate somewhere near the end for about 5 minutes. So if you would tune in at 9:30, you can hear a lot of interesting things from Miss Pat on Friday mornings at 9:30 on WBGR. It's on Facebook. So please, Miss Pat, let everybody know because it's a very interesting program.
Great job, Dee.
Thanks for the information, Dee. I'm gonna check it out.
Yes,
Okay.
great job. That's excellent. I'll say one thing to add to that. Ms. Pat has a phenomenal presentation on downsizing, guys. And this is something that we work together on. Dee and Anita work with her on as well. So the compilation of information for our seniors, this is something crucial because not even just for seniors, for empty nesters, for people who've retired, people whose kids have gone off to college, moved out, got married, if they're looking to move from, multiple levels to a single level, there's so much valuable information for people to show them exactly why and how to downsize. And when you consider the market from that perspective, you're really helping our baby boomers. And then as a return, you have a client that you get multiple sides of business from. They have a home that they need to sell, and they have another one, a smaller one that they need to buy. So it's a very, very, it's a perfect market. So I want us to consider just, you can lend an ear to get that information in case you have anybody in that pool that you need to assist, or if you need a resource for somebody in that pool, then absolutely reach out to Ms. Pat because she has so many different senior resources. It's a great value.
And those boomers influence
That's
others. So
Yes.
That's right.
they have a sphere of influence that you can tap into.
That's
Yeah.
So
right.
Miss Pat, this is Aurelia. Can you send me the link to that information?
Yes, I can send you something on it, yes.
Okay,
Miss
thank you.
Pat, can you get it to Jasmine so she can put it on WhatsApp so that people can actually see it if they're
That'll be
interested?
great. That'll be good.
Yeah.
You guys can share it. You can share it on WhatsApp and put the time that she'll be talking about the information and all that good stuff. You can share
Excellent.
it. It's totally fine.
Okay.
All right. And Ms. Pat will have to have you to go through your downsizing presentation for all of our agents because there's so much meat in there that I would love for people to be able to glean from. Because at some point or another, we're going to be helping buyers in this demographic, and we need to have a hold of that information so that we can be a valuable resource to our clients.
Amen.
All right. You all are the best. Thank you so much for availing yourselves today and tuning in. I hope that you got a lot of great information. We did record this session today, which I'm very excited for. So for all of our fellow agents who were not able to tune in today, we can make this information available to them. And if you guys want to come back and listen to it again, if you missed something, it'll be available to you as well, okay?
Okay.
All right. And if you found it helpful, you can send a message out in the WhatsApp to encourage your other agents. Send something out. And if you need me, just give me a call.
Excellent.
Right.
We appreciate you too. Thank you for the information.
Yes,
Yes,
Yes, thank you guys so
excellent.
much. Thank you all.
Okay.
Have a great day, everyone.
You do
Y'all
the
too.
same.
Y'all have a good
You
one.
too.
Stay safe.
Happy
Bye.
birthday, Shalante.
Thank you.
Yes,
Everyone,
Shalante.
Happy birthday again.
All right,
Happy
take
birthday
care,
to
ladies.
Pat, Shalante, all of y'all.
Yes.
Mhm.
You guys
Thank
have
you,
a
Jasmine.
wonderful rest of the day.
All right, thank
Right.
you.
Thank you. You guys too.
All right now. Bye-bye.